प्रभजतौ जीवार्थदौ जौ बुधा वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजग श्रीजीव गोपालक
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the assembled devotees, the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. And this is a global group on these Zoom calls. And our focus is on the original study of the unadulterated books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. It is also focused on the proper understanding of how he wanted his mission to continue after his disappearance, November 14th, 1977. And our goal is to expand this group as much as possible while we still can as a group, with the grace of Prabhupada and Krishna to help us. This group was started some years ago, a couple of years ago, by us, and as we're evolving forward, we're getting more interest globally, and of course, with that, we're getting all kinds of input from other people, both good and bad. That goes on in life, especially when you're trying to present a philosophy of truth, and that truth has been changed into many different groups of philosophies. So there's a constant debate and struggle between groups. I was mentioning to one of our godbrothers today that the Catholic Church has 6 different sections of schism in it currently, 6. And when you look at Christianity, there's the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, the Baptist Church. There's a whole classification. So this is something that goes on in the material world where people will be in a constant debate and struggle, let's say, for presenting things properly. And we take pride in representing Prabhupada's truth without adulteration. And that is something for many of us is very unique. And we're pleased to be able to bring this to everybody at the Prabhupada Disciples Association classes, which we are planning to expand. Just so you know, we're going to be increasing to one more class during the week, which will be the Nectar of Devotion class. So we'll make more announcements next week on that, when we'll be starting that. And that will give us the 4 books, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Charitamrita, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this becomes more of a commitment from the PDA media team, as well as the people that want to attend. And we'll also be presenting rules of conduct that we're going to present to everybody in due course of what we believe is the right direction for everyone that's participating in the class in terms of how they handle themselves during their daily duties throughout the week. So that's coming too. Now we'll move ahead right away into this section of our classes, which is reading from the Jaladuta diary. Now, we've read through the diary pretty much. We started in the sort of a third through, and so we'll probably revisit it later again. But at the same time, we're going to carry on reading the diary, and then after we're also reading from the original, one of the original Back to Godhead magazines from 1944. And we'll be having the class on Caitanya Charitamrita. We're reading from the unedited versions. And the class will be given by our senior devotee, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And then it'll open up for questions and answers. We've been letting these classes carry on with a lot of questions and answers. So we hope you don't mind that the discussion has been continuing into the evening or the morning time. And by all means, whatever you feel comfortable, you can stay on, or if you want to get off, that's your, independent free will to choose what you want to do. But we want to thank everybody that's here today. There's already 20 people on the broadcast. We want to thank you all for attending on a regular basis. Many of you are regulars, and being a part of this spiritual activity. The following excerpts from Srila Prabhupada's room conversations and letters give further insights into his voyage to America and the incidents surrounding it. These selections have been obtained from the computer database, The Complete Works of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Do you have these, Vinkat? Do you have this? Yes, he does. Our wonderful Vinkat is helping us so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Excerpt from a room conversation with His Divine Grace in Bombay on November 7th, 1970. Prabhupada, I just read it beforehand. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So I went in the USA without any sponsor. Number one, that is, the one gentleman sponsored for 1 month only. Not even 1 month. I remained there only 3 weeks, and then I chalked out my plan. Yes, my friend's son and my friend wrote him that you sponsor Swamiji for 1 month. Guest, some American gentleman? Prabhupada, no, Indian. One gentleman from Agra. So his son immediately sent me sponsoring, but still the government objected. We cannot allow you to go there because you are sponsored by an individual person. But I wanted to see Chief Controller of what is called Foreign Exchange, Mr. Rao. So he kindly accepted. Yes, Swamiji, you can go, he fought. Guess two. That time it was very difficult. Back then, 1964, 65. It was hard to come to America. Passport I have got already. Prabhupada, passport, yet visa. So there was no money with me and in an awkward position. Nowadays, like to get into Canada, there's one stipulation. One entrance is economic. And I think you have to have $500,000 to get into the country on an economic basis here to this country this day. So back then, Prabhupada had no money. My philosophy is completely different. I want to ask them to cease from 4 kinds of sinful activities. And they are habituated to these things: illicit sex and drinking, wine, and intoxication and gambling. These are their daily affairs. I was thinking, I have to stop this. Who will hear me? By Krishna, everything became. By the grace of Krishna, of course. Guest 1, may I ask you one thing? How you chose this America to be your first? So he's saying first choice to come to this country. Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj ordered me that you go and preach this cult, amongst the English-speaking public, and especially in the Western countries. Again, just quickly, cult does not refer to a pejorative term. Back then, it was just by definition, a group of people with a set of beliefs. That's it. Not a Jim Jones cult. So first of all, I thought of London. There is London, but I had no money. So I got the opportunity for going USA, free on a trade ship by the India Steam Navigation. They gave me their first class cabinet, the proprietor's cabinet. I was well carried. But first of all, I went free on a steamship. I had no money. What to speak of aeroplanes? So what was your question? My question was that how you selected America to be your choice. Prabhupada, yes. So I got the opportunity to go to America because their ship goes to New York. So I accepted. All right, we can see. Either go to London or New York. New York is a better place than London. So, very insightful reading here on the adventurous spirit and the courage and determination of our Guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, to carry out the orders of his spiritual master. We'll move forward now and ask if you could continue on with reading from the 1944 Back to Godhead magazine published by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
So the next article is called Message of Bhaktivinod Thakur. So let me open that up.
Thank you.
Message of Bhaktivinod Thakur. There is no other way out of this great ocean of nescience except the unalloyed mercy of the Absolute Godhead. Living entity, although superior in nature in comparison to the nature of matter, he is by association dependent and weaker than the material nature. The Absolute Godhead is the creator of all entities. He is the maintainer and deliverer of all entities. The innumerable living entities are infinitesimals, and Godhead is infinite. The infinitesimal living entity is therefore subordinate to the infinite, and as such, he is transcendently the eternal servitor of the Absolute Godhead. The Supreme Spirit Godhead is the ultimate rest of all entities. This material world is a construction of the material energy, and the material existence of the living entity is a sort of punishment, just like a prisoner. The punishment is due to forgetfulness of Godhead by the living entity. And therefore, there is no deliverance of the living entities from the clutches of nescience, save and except by the revival of his sense of Godhead. Those who have forgotten the relation of Godhead are only the prisoners of this material world, and those who have not forgotten him are the liberated souls. The conditioned souls who are bound up by the material energy can get rid of prison life by the mercy of Godhead if he prays for it by penance and service. Great sages and messiahs of the world have devised various ways and means for the self-realization of the living entity, and all such means can be grouped into three different channels, namely good work, knowledge, and devotion. There are many subdivisions within good works, such as the system of 4 castes of 4 orders of life, sacrifice, austerity, charity, penance, and various such things. And there are scriptures wherein the respective results of all the above mentioned good works are illustrated and explained. If those results are again analyzed and scrutinized, we can understand that higher station of life, such as one in heaven, opulence in this material world, power, deliverance from miseries and diseases, or attainment of higher standard of services are the net results of the above good works. And by separating the one of higher standard of services, we can only understand all other results as one of material world. As such, all the results pertaining to the material energy which can be attained by the performances of good works are but temporary and subject to exhaustion. In order of mundane time and space created by the material energy, everything is limited by the laws of nature. So all these limited acquisitions cannot help us in our attempt to get rid of the conditional life. On the contrary, the temporary good results of these good works bind us more strongly within the limits of material energy. The ultimate end of attaining higher status of life is to obtain sufficient time for culture and performances of higher duties. The system of the 4 castes and 4 orders of life, as introduced by the religion of the Hindus, is designed to mold up the character of the respective performers for higher duties, and thus to give them ample chance for cultivating spiritual knowledge. If therefore anyone who, even after obtaining higher standard of life as well as sufficient leisure, does not culture these higher duties, namely the cultivation of spiritual knowledge and philosophy, then, according to the opinion of Bhagavats, the labor and energy lost in this direction is spent up for nothing. And in most cases, it has been found that those who have obtained sufficient rest and comfort after performances of hard labor have mostly squandered away the valuable time and energy thus obtained in different occupations other than spiritual culture. This proves conclusively that good works cannot give anyone the ultimate goodness, that is, freedom from the bondage of conditioned life. Cultivation of higher spiritual knowledge, which discerns the matter from spirit, does not also help us in the achievement of the highest goal. By this culture of spiritual life, one can understand only oneself as distinguished from gross matter, and can also understand that the spirit soul is above matter, as ignorance of this fact makes him bound to undergo the rigors of conditioned life. This self-realization may help one for attaining the marginal position between material and spiritual existence, but this does not mean actual spiritual life and its spiritual activities, without which the spirit soul cannot obtain the highest bliss. This marginal state of life may be called the life of self-satisfaction, as distinguished from the life of self-realization, which means engagement in the transcendental activities of the spiritual world. Self-satisfaction without this self-realization, attachment for spiritual activities, does not bear any substantial fruit. The quality of spiritual activity is so much attractive that it attracts even the most self-satisfied spiritualists, and thus engages them in the spiritual activities as distinguished from the material activities. Thus, the results of good works, when it gives sufficient leisure for the cultivation of spiritual activities and spiritual knowledge, it is then and then only that good works or cultivation of spiritual knowledge can be accepted as means to the ultimate goal. Therefore, devotional activities only can lead us to the spiritual activities and nothing else. Good works or spiritual knowledge under the guidance of devotional activities can be helpful for spiritual activities, but devotional activities, even without the help of good works or spiritual knowledge, can alone help us in the attainment of spiritual life. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, informed Uddhava that neither good works, even without any desire for fruitive action, nor spiritual knowledge, nor the system of caste and creed, nor the studies of scriptures, nor penances, nor even renunciation can satisfy him, as do the devotional activities themselves. Transformed into English by the editor from Bengali. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Haribo. So we'll move forward with our spiritual activities, which is the hearing of the scriptures, Srila Prabhupada, and with the Charitamrita used of its classes, and along, and then we'll have a class by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Sadasya Maan Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se
Jai.
Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinod Sri
Jai.
Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Swami to Bhaktivinod Mai ki jai. Mai ki jai.
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 All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Before we begin the reading, we will read a few verses from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1 of Adi Lila, text 18 through 22. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. This was from Adi 118. Next, text 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ki karye chinoyatmasat. 18 Charano Vandan Tiri Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavan, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grante Rarambikori Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera smaranioi vigna vinashana, anayaseoi nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar, vastu nirdesha shiravada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Jai Sri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Just make an announcement. Tomorrow, on April 6th, is the Purnima, full moon day. It is Balaram Rasa Yatra, the day that Lord Balaram with the gopi is Santa Rasa, appearance of Rasa, and the appearance of Adana Thakur Ramananda Prabhu. An email today with regards to these events. If you have not received the email, you can send me an email at yasoda1008@yahoo.com. That's yasoda1008@yahoo.com, and I can send you the email. Today we are reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, text 25. All the synonyms translations and purports from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Bhakti Yoge Pat Bhaktapai Janhara Darashan Surya Yena Savigraha Deke Devagan. Bhakti Yogi, by devotional service. Bhakta, the devotee. Paya, obtains. Yanhara, whose. Darshana, sight. Surya, the sun god. Yena, like. Savigraha, with form. Deke, they see. Devagana, the denizens of heaven. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as His eternal form, which cannot be seen by material eyes or mental speculation. Only by transcendental devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The comparison is made here to the qualifications for viewing the personal features of the sun god. The sun god is a person who, although not visible to our eyes, is seen from the higher planets by the demigods, whose eyes are suitable for seeing through the glaring sunshine that surrounds him. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The inhabitants of earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. The personality of Godhead is unapproachable by those who are habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought without reference to the transcendental vibration. The ascending approach to the absolute truth ends in the realization of impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, but not the supreme transcendental personality. Text 26. Jnana yoga marge tandre bhaje ye sab, Brahma atma rupe tandre karyanubhav. Jnana, of philosophical speculation, yoga, and of mystic yoga, marge, on the paths, tandre, him, bhaje, worship, ye, who, sabha, all, Brahma, of impersonal Brahman, Atma, and of the super soul, Paramatma, Rupe, in the forms, Tanre, him, Kare, do, Anubhava, perceive. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only him, for it is him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Purport by His Divine Grace. Those who are fond of mental speculation, jnana marg, or want to meditate in mystic yoga to find the absolute truth, must approach the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and his partial representation respectively. Such persons cannot realize the eternal form of the Lord. Text 27. Upasana bede jani ishwaram mahima, atoeva suryatandra dieta upama. Upasana bede, by the different paths of worship, jani, I know, Ishwara, of the Supreme Lord, Mahima, greatness, Ataeva, therefore, Surya, the sun, Tanra, of him, Dieta, was given, Upama, simile. Translation. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the example of the sun illustrates. Text 28. Senarayana Krishnera Swarupa Abheda Ekai Vigraha Kintuakara Vibeda. Say that Narayana, Lord Narayana, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, Swarupa, original form, Abheda, not different, Ekai, one, Vigraha, identity, Kintu, but, Akara, of bodily features, Vibheda, difference. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Narayana and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Inhota dvibujatin rudare charihata, inho venudare tinho chakradika sata, inhota, this one, dvibuja, two arms, tinho, he, dhare, manifest, chari, four, hatha, hands, inho, this one, venu, flute, dare, holds, tinho, he, chakra adhika, the wheel, etc. Satha, wit. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has two hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayana, has four hands with conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Narayana is identical to Sri Krishna. They are in fact the same person manifested differently, like a high court judge who is differently situated in his office and at home. As Narayana, the Lord is manifested with four hands, but as Krishna is manifested with two hands. Text number 30. Narayanastvam nahi sarvadehinam atmasya dishakila loka sakshi Narayanvangam narabhujalayanat tachapi satyam nateva maya. Narayanaha, Lord Narayana, Tvam, you, Na, not, He, certainly, Sarava, all, Dehinam, of the embodied beings, Atma, the supersoul, Asi, you are, Adhisha, O Lord, Akila Loka, of all the world, Sakshi, the witness, Narayana, known as Narayana, Angam, plenary portion, Nara, of Nara, Bhu, born, Jala, in the water, Ayanat, due to the place of refuge, Tat, that, Cha, and, Api, certainly, Satyam, highest truth, Na, not, Tava, your, Eva, at all, Maya, the illusory energy. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Lord of lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayana? Narayana refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and that Narayana is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They're absolute and are not creations of Maya. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This statement, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-14, was spoken by Lord Brahma in his prayers to Lord Krishna after the Lord defeated him by displaying his mystic powers. Brahma had tried to test Lord Krishna to see if he were really the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing as a coward boy. Brahma stole all the other boys and their cows from the pasturing grounds. But when he returned to the pastures, he saw that all the boys and cows were still there, for Lord Krishna had created them all again. When Brahma saw this mystic power of Lord Krishna, he admitted defeat and offered prayers to the Lord, addressing him as the proprietor and seer of everything in the creation, and as the supersoul who is within each and every living entity and is dear to all. That Lord Krishna is Narayana, the father of Brahma, because Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, after placing himself on the Garbha ocean, created Brahma from his own body. Mahavishnu in the causal ocean, and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the super soul in everyone's heart, are also transcendental expansions of the Supreme Truth. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasamaham Om Vishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prasantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I thought I'd make a few remarks there before we start explaining. Behind Balaram Prabhu is a beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada on his wall. Very, very nice. And behind Rathayatra Prabhu in the back, there's a beautiful picture of Lord Jagannath and some other nice transcendental pictures there. Very sweet, very sweet. So this particular verse, text number 30, is a very important verse. This verse is cited several times by Srila Prabhupada in various lectures. Why is that? This is one of the evidences from the Srimad about the superposition of Lord Krishna. As we've mentioned before, In South India, there are two primary sampradayas, the Sri Vaishnava, the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and the Madhva Sampradaya, the Tattvavadis. And they are of the opinion that Narayana is the source of Lord Krishna, that Lord Krishna is an avatar of Narayana. Whereas in North India, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and we have the Vallabhas and the Nimbarkas, they are of the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, based on the verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This particular verse here is also cited by Jiva Goswami and Sanatan Goswami in their various writings explaining Narayanastvam nahi sarvadehinam, Narayano angam, the third line of the verse, that Lord Narayana is a plenary portion of Lord Krishna. Incidentally, in the Madhva Sampradaya, in their version of the Bhagavatam, they claim that this 14th chapter is an interpolation, and Madhvacharya never commented on this chapter. Of course, we don't accept that version. Our acharyas, our Gaudiya acharyas, specifically Sanatan Goswami and Jiva Goswami, they have commented on this particular chapter, chapter 14. This is part of what is called the Brahma Vimohan Lila, where Lord Brahma had been exposed by Lord Krishna, and he recited these various eulogies and obeisances to Krishna. Now, this is a very detailed, Jiva Goswami has written a book called Krishna Sandarbha, which is dedicated entirely to explaining what is called the Paribhasha Sutra, or the main sutra of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Now, this is a very important point, because as devotees become more educated and learn the philosophy, we see also here in the Caitanya Charitamrita how Krishnadas Kaviraj at some point goes into a detail why this particular Bhagavatam, Krishna Bhagavan Swayam, is most important. We have all heard Srila Prabhupada in various lectures and conversations quote that verse from the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyemenatishtan Nanavataram Akarad Bhuvanishu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyu Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That all of these various incarnations, as Lord Rama, Lord Narasimha, Vamana, all these incarnations, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyaminatishtan, that Krishna Swayam Samabhavat, that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of these incarnations come from him. Of course, this is a very technical, detailed philosophical point, but this is the basic fundamentals of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Now, it's important to remember that even during the time of the Goswamis in the middle 1950s and late 1950s, there were other sampradayas in India trying to present their personal viewpoint. I mean, I personally was in Srila Prabhupada's presence in Vrindavan, where Prabhupada explained that ultimately all these incarnations are all transcendental. We don't discriminate. It's an offense to discriminate between Vishnu and Krishna and Vishnu. Prabhupada gave the example that is also given in the Brahma Samhita in that verse, Diparchireva hi dashantarobhyapitya. That just like if you have a lamp, if the lamp lights up another lamp, they're both equal. But one lamp is the original lamp and another lamp is the subsequent lamp. This is the example that has been given by Lord Brahma in the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Now, there's a lot of other statements by Jiva Goswami with regards to this particular point. For example, in the various Shastras, it says if you chant the name of Lord Rama 1,000 times, it equals to one name of Vishnu. If you chant the 1,000 names of Vishnu, it's equal to one name of Krishna. And there's numerous references in various different shastras of the exalted position of Lord Krishna, the Adi Purusha, the original personality. Just like we have all heard that text from the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. We have seen Prabhupada quote that verse so many times. Why did Prabhupada quote that verse so many times? Because the previous acharyas have quoted that verse so many times. Srila Prabhupada did not invent or manufacture a new philosophy. He's basically repeating the philosophy according to time, place, and circumstances, and presenting it in simple English language with profuse quotations in Sanskrit, Bengali, and other languages to present the philosophy, to present the explanation how Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very, very important point. One point I wanted to address has been brought to my attention that on the internet, as well as some other communications, there's been a lot of criticism or false criticism from certain individuals, basically leveling various levels of accusations against some members of this group. Now, I don't mind if somebody wants to criticize me. I'm not much of a devotee. I try to be. I chant my rounds, follow the principles, follow the program. And basically, I did a few things for Srila Prabhupada by his mercy, by his kindness during his manifested presence. But as you know, in the Caitanya Charitamrita, even during the manifested presence of such an exalted soul like Krishnadas Kaviraj, he refers to in the Caitanya Charitamrita various people comparing to hogs and dogs who viciously criticized him. Various Sahajiyas have circulated stories, Prabhupada refers to that in the Caitanya Charitamrita, that after Krishnadas Kaviraj completed his Caitanya Charitamrita, that Jiva Goswami became very concerned about such an exalted rendering of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. And Prabhupada refers to this story as another example of blasphemy against Jiva Goswami and against Krishnadas Kaviraj. So we're not on a level of these great souls, definitely not. And we're not trying to justify. All we're trying to do is move forward the mission that has been given by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and present his teachings to the best of our limited ability. But there will always be a class of people to distortion, fabrication, falsehoods, concoctions that will find fault. Even when you try to put the Krishna consciousness movement, they will. That is unfortunate, but just like Prabhupada used to say, the dogs may bark, but the caravan will move on. This is simply our mission that has been given to us by Prabhupada, telling us to move forward with determination, with patience, and to basically neglect such persons. This is unfortunate, but the reason this is being brought up is because I've personally seen how certain individuals will use any amount of falsehoods, distortions, and fabrications to criticize other devotees. Very dangerous position. Vaishnava aparad and Vaishnava ninda, or offense and blasphemy of other Vaishnavas, is definitely not very helpful. It is very, very dangerous. And any intelligent person should refrain from that. Very dangerous position. So we'll open the discussions and move forward. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your explanation of today's verses from His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I did want to continue to refer back to text 25. I thought there was, before we open the door for other input, I wanted to refer back to this section in the purport on text 25, Vinkat Prabhu. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Personality, Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. So here is a point. I think, Vinkat Prabhu, you might have seen these comments made in the writings of one of our friends who's been attending the classes, that they were saying that Prabhupada was speaking out of line when he said that they never went to the moon. So here Prabhupada is clarifying this particular statement by saying, technically, even if you claim moon, you enter into the moon's atmosphere because you don't have a specific body for that. Just like here on this planet, we've got these material bodies: earth, water, fire, air, and then the elements in them: bile, mucus, stool, urine. This is the air. This is the composition of this bag of blood that we walk around in, that we're so proud of. So only if you have this type of body can you function here on this planet with these particular material elements. So similarly, you can't enter into the atmosphere of the moon planet with a material body. Actually, that is a very controversial point for some people. I'm going to speak personally here, never been a controversial point for myself because of my own particular research and the instructions that Prabhupada gave to us, that they never went to the moon. This is the Kali Yuga. It is the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. It's filled with complete lies, fraudulent statements, all kinds of contamination that have arisen due to the degraded condition of the people in this modern times. So their speculation about going to the moon, or those people that support that, they are a representation of this Kali Yuga mentality. They have no idea what they're talking about. Just like people that promoted the vaccine. This vaccine was promoted by people ambitious in the chemical industry, in the pharmaceutical industry. It was promoted by politicians that were trying to gain the appreciation of their constituents. It is promoted by profiteers, people that are just interested in making money. It was promoted by the media as a news story because everybody was watching it. Was it true? The whole thing is a fraud, a complete fraud. It's pathetic. And it's all coming out now. So this material world, this Kali Yuga, going to the moon, this thing, that thing, is all part of the fraudulent society that we live in, and the corruption of the illusion of material life that's permeating everybody's mental speculation, consciousness, bewilderment. That's what's going on in this society. Yaśodā, Prabhu, please.
This is a very important point, because we see by propaganda how people are moving forward so many different theories. in 1977, one of our godbrothers, Hamsadura, was in Sri Lanka. And he publicly challenged a professor, one Dr. Kovor, publicly to come on stage and prove that you can turn a monkey into a human being. Of course, the professor was not able to do that. But the public challenge basically attracted so much publicity that the professor was forced to admit that it's not possible to do that. They have a ridiculous explanation that this took place millions and millions of years ago. And Prabhupada's argument basically is, well, if it took place millions of years ago, why is it not taking place now? So this idea, this theory basically is a form of atheism that has been promoted by various politicians, by various leaders, to basically enslave people. It's a very dangerous, false idea, this so-called idea of evolution. Same thing with this so-called scientific theory of the origin of creation from a so-called Big Bang. I was in Prabhupada's room one time in Calcutta, and Prabhupada leaned back and he started to laugh. And he said, well, where did the Big Bang come from? Where did the chemicals that produced the Big Bang, where did they come from? And Prabhupada said, there is no such thing as accident. Everything has a cause. There is always a cause for everything. Prabhupada pointed out, how did you get to this room? How did this building come about? How did the car that you came in, how did that come about? Did that come by chance, by some Big Bang? Did the building that you're living come by chance, some so-called Big Bang? Of course, they cannot answer this except with some word jugglery and nonsensical idea. But Prabhupada was very strong on challenging the modern narrative, the narrative of so-called science, so-called scholars who've been indoctrinated to move forward with atheistic propositions.
Yes.
Very, very important that devotees have to understand this, because what we see now is certain devotees or pseudo-devotees who claim that Prabhupada was wrong in not agreeing with modern science, that Prabhupada was wrong in claiming they never went to the moon, and so many other issues. And we say, no, Prabhupada was correct. You have not properly understood. There is one conversation where the devotees were asking Srila Prabhupada whether the spiritual master knows everything. And Prabhupada said the spiritual master is not God, but he knows everything about the science of God, the science of bhakti. Later on in the conversation, Prabhupada says, if you think that your spiritual master is mistaken, you are mistaken. The first fundamental principle of a disciple is faith in the spiritual master, is allegiance to the spiritual master. If at any time a disciple challenged the spiritual master or disbelieved the spiritual master, his spiritual life is cut. We see in so many different shastras, Prabhupada gives in the Gurvastakam, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasad, Yasya aprasatopi. See of the spiritual master once you have Krishna. But if the spiritual master is displeased, then nagati kutopi. Everything is spoiled. All the spiritual achievement, all the spiritual life is spoiled. So it's very important when we look at Srila Prabhupada's teachings, or even his various controversial statements, not to find fault with the Acharya, not to find fault with a pure devotee. Otherwise, it's a very dangerous, slippery slope.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to call upon our member here, Vinkat Prabhu, who is an aerospace engineer by training, correct, Prabhu?
Yep.
Oh, excellent. So I wonder if you could share your perspective on this moon landing and maybe the comments that have been made that I know you've researched from other people who have literally blasphemed their guru. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So this moon landing, it was a big, what do you call it?
Hoax.
A production. It was a hoax. It was a production, for particular, political purposes. That time, U.S., Russia, Cold War, that kind of thing. And they didn't have the technology to go to the moon. There's a lot of evidence for that. Like there's this radiation belts, Van Allen radiation belts, which surround the Earth. You can't even go past them. In fact, there's evidence now of NASA saying that we're still trying to figure out how to get past this radiation belts now, like in present day in the 2020s. And even there's a lot of evidence, like the astronauts who so-called went to the moon, their own behavior, very strange behavior. What's his name? Neil Armstrong, and I don't remember the other ones, but very strange behavior. Instead of like being very happy that they're on the moon, they went into like depression, and they made very weird statements over the years. And also, I mean, those are all circumstantial pieces of evidence, but there's also like solid evidence that, we didn't go to the moon, like the photographs, if you look at, all kinds of things. So, I mean, there's nice documentaries about it. There's two or three very strong documentaries about this. One is called The American Moon. The other is called, I don't remember the name, but, they're on YouTube. So that's about the moon landing. Then about evolution, again, as you said, there's no, that's also like a belief system that's propagated by, modern scientists. And I think one of devotees, actually, he's written a whole book about it called Forbidden Archaeology. So it's by Michael Cremo. He's one of the, he's a devotee, and he's written a book called Forbidden Archaeology, huge book. I have it actually, but I haven't not read it. But the gist of it is that there's actually a lot of archaeological evidence that's always suppressed because it doesn't tie into the theory of evolution. So it's actually evidence for example, modern anatomical humans living millions of years ago. Whereas I think what they say is, according to the theory of evolution, modern anatomical humans started only 100,000 years ago. But there's evidence, found by many, many people of modern human beings living millions, or even, I don't know about billions, but millions of years ago. So, but all this evidence is suppressed. The people who find this are ridiculed, because it doesn't correspond to their theory. It's more like a political theory, this theory of evolution. And then the theory of the Big Bang, that's just one more, mental concoction, you can say. I read this funny thing. It says, give me one miracle and I'll be able to explain the rest. So that miracle is the appearance of everything, all that we see, all the energy, all the matter in the whole universe from nothing. So if we can grant them that miracle, then they'll be able to explain the rest. Oh, it's all just, what do you call it? Expansion, cooling of matter, of energy, and it forms planets. It's all actually it doesn't make any sense. This Big Bang theory. I mean, there might have been some kind of rapid expansion, but they don't know what caused that, or what's before that. What's the source of that? They said it's nothing. The source of that is nothing. So actually, I mean, science, if it can, it's trying to find how God created the universe like that, right? Or how the universe works.
Yes.
So if it can do it humbly, like, I'm just trying to figure it out, then that's fine. But they put forth their own political theories, their own mental concoctions about, there's no God. Before the Big Bang, there was nothing. Everything just sprang out of nothingness, or the theory of evolution, that we all evolved from like, what do you call it, unicellular organisms, and then into fish and apes, and then humans. no evidence for any of that. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Well, the thing is this, that people, Prabhupada gave the example of the frog in the well. So the frog in the well is just a little insignificant being in a well, and he's trying to speculate on the length and breadth of the ocean. And before he can actually come to the understanding that he hopes to achieve, eventually he dies. So this is the business of the insignificant living entities that reside on this planet, that run around thinking there's some kind of big deal. Through their money or their name or their fame, they become infatuated with this so-called knowledge, Balaram. But the fact of the matter is, by the time they figure out what they think is right, they're dead. Birth, death, disease, and old age, the eternal time factor takes its toll on these deluded living entities. I just quickly, though, Vinkat Prabhu, I know that you were doing some research. Was there some kind of information that you found where some devotees had written something that they believed that that Prabhupada was incorrect when he made that statement that they didn't go to the moon? Do you have that reference? Your microphone, Vinkat.
Yeah, sorry. I have that. So
do you mind referring to it for our group here tonight? I think it might be, because I think that's important, to see how this disease of Sahajiyism, this was just all pervasive on many levels, has entered into the community of Prabhupada disciples and is minimizing his position, and in very much real terms is quite blasphemous and very, very serious. Go ahead. Look at this. Yeah.
This is an article called "When the Master Speaks: Ways of Understanding Srila Prabhupada's Challenging Teachings and Forms of Discourse." So this is just one of the articles. Actually, there's a whole slew of articles coming out, books even. There's a big book, 666 pages, which recently came out, called Along the Same Lines, How Do We Understand Srila Prabhupada's Controversial Statements? And that book somehow seemed to cause a stir, and the ISKCON India team have banned that book. They banned the person who's written that book. But this article is equally as offensive. So I don't know what.
Didn't he say something about the moon?
Yeah.
This is a friend of ours. I'm sorry to see this. I really am. This is very, I find it quite disturbing. I hope all of you feel the same way, especially when you claim to be a disciple. Go ahead. Please read it.
So, this particular paragraph, however, many of Prabhupada's writings and also the scriptural texts that he constantly drew from as foundational for his own thought will sometimes present worldly subject matters that easily appear to eclipse his ultimate focus of loving God in bhakti. For example, topics such as evaluating the difference in intelligence and sexuality between men and women, declaring racial hierarchies in which he claimed the Indian race as superior, making assertions that undermine science and scientific thinking, such as mocking the moon landing and evolution, seriously questioning the modern astronomical view of planetary systems and origins of the universe, or speaking on worldly issues in a way contrary to educated stances. I mean, that's just so offensive, the way, he's kind of put it in very flowery language. But, what is he saying? He's saying, Srila Prabhupada, just stick to talking about bhakti. Don't try to talk about all these other things, which you may not know about. That's essentially what he's saying. He's saying, contrary to educated stances, you're not educated about all these things. So don't talk about all these things.
Such arrogance.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a point here before we continue into the discussion. There is a chap out of New Vrindavan that used to be in New Vrindavan under the how can I say, the following of Keith Ham. His name is actually not to, I'm not trying to target him per se as for any other reason, just to give us a understanding of who said or what was said. But he came out with his, this is not meant to fall, because I know he still presents it, this philosophy of the post-Prabhupada books. And he's out of, I believe, Balaram, he's in, where is it now? Australia or New Zealand? Devamrita Swami, Devamrita. And if you look it up, you'll see this so-called offering from him, where he says that Prabhupada's books, post-Prabhupada books, means that the books that he wrote are not current with the modern times. And so the modern times the book should be edited to reflect, say, the woman's point of view nowadays, as opposed to if you say that it's not a criticism of women, these are descriptions of them. It wasn't meant to criticize them. It was just meant to understand different things. And of course, we have to use our common sense in dealing with these matters, but they should be edited out of the books, these comments, like the sexual comments. For example, I'll finish up here. I just got news that in Toronto, at the Toronto temple, gender in the brahmachari in the temple, a transgender man with still the same physical attributes of a man living with women. Now, a little bit of common sense would say that this may not be the appropriate way to run an ashram where men and women are following strict vows of celibacy. But at any rate, just so you know, the times, as Bob Dylan would say, the times are a-changing. I see a comment from Rathayatra that he's written. Maybe you could read it out there, Venkat. I don't know if it's appropriate. What do you think?
Rathayatra Prabhu.
Yeah, he's written a comment in our chat board.
Venkat Prabhu, my obeisance to your service with Prabhupada Disciples Association. Keep up your association with ISKCON Bangalore. Highly intelligent devotees there, like your caliber, accepting only Srila Prabhupada's Guru. Okay. Thank you,
well, thank you for that comment. And we're hoping globally people will, see what we're doing and join us in Mass and not worry about deviant groups, Sahajiya groups that are infiltrating into Prabhupada's mission. Balaram Prabhu, do you have any thoughts on today's discussions from Australia?
We're always praying for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just right at the beginning, His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu mentioned a photograph on my wall behind where I'm sitting. That's actually a sketching. It's not a photograph of Srila Prabhupada. It's a sketching by a devotee, and that was done in 1975. And it's actually quite ironic because that devotee was initiated by Srila Prabhupada. He's now with the Haribols, sort of. He was a champion surfer, but he's a very talented artist, and he painted a series of 8 sketchings, and that is actually from Srila Prabhupada's room in the Melbourne Mandir Temple, and that's one of the 8. And each one represented one of the stanzas of the Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's prayers to the spiritual master. So when I resigned in 1989 as temple president for 14 years, the devotees gave me that signed on the back as a going away gift. So that's been with me for a long time. Beautiful photograph of the actual art form of Sham. And today is we're actually the same day as Mayapur. Today is actually the 6th of April. So today is Shamananda Prabhu, his appearance day. Wonderful. Yeah, nice tie up there. But we were talking so many points in the. I was just thinking, when you read some of Srila Prabhupada's earlier writings in the 40s and the 50s, some of Prabhupada's beautiful essays. Before he came to Australia, or Australia, sorry, before he came to the West, he was always focusing on defeating the impersonalism. I mean, in India, it's personal or impersonal. There's so most of Prabhupada's writings at that time were exposing the impersonalists. And we can see today, I was thinking when we're talking about the science and everything, actually the science of today, the temporary science, is always changing. There's nothing constant in the science. It's like the old saying, so many Munis, so many minds. So we can say here, so many scientists, and everyone, they've got to get some peer review, and that comes from money and position and so many things to promote their writing, so they get more money for their research. But this is all coming from impersonalism. Science today is impersonal because they don't believe in the existence or the creation of the Supreme Person. And it's only by the mercy of the true knowledge that's coming in the line of acharyas that we can actually understand what is what. It's just like in the 9th, the two very important verses at the start of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Firstly, Krishna tells Arjuna that he's going to explain this science to him. Why? Anusujave, because he's not envious of him. Idam tu te gujatamam pravyakshamya anusujave. Krishna says to Arjuna, I'm going to explain this this imperishable science to you because you are my friend and not envious of me. Right? So we can actually see that this science that is coming down from Lord Brahma in our disciplic succession, passed all the way down. This is the actual science. Abhyayam, it's inexhaustible and imperishable. So what we have to see the difference of material science. Material science is based simply on the 8 aspects: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and don't even worry about false ego. That's there. So that's their material science. That's all they can play with, because they don't understand the soul. So, and even those who might have an understanding, like the impersonalists, they may have some concept of the soul, but just like we're reading, Krishna and the jivas have an eternal relationship. So if you don't have that eternal the knowledge of that eternal relationship, you actually have nothing. So all glories to the disciplic succession. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Wonderful. I wanted us to, Vinkat Prabhu, I see that our Prabhu in Australia had written out a section from the Vyas Puja offering. Maybe you could read it out to us so we just see what was actually said.
Yeah, sure. This is by Vyas Puja offering by Devamrita Swami. This is that one where he introduced that term, post-Prabhupada books. So, okay. During your physical presence, your books were our be-all and end-all. Now, have we entered consciously or unconsciously a new era of ISKCON known as PPB, that is, post-Prabhupada books? More than a few seasoned devotees and supportive academics opine that indeed it's time to move on. Maybe while maintaining our eternal gratitude to you, our Founder-Ācārya, it's now necessary to evaluate what you have left us and distill whatever part of that legacy should accompany us into the future of a different world and a different ISKCON. Amidst the burgeoning potpourri of Gaudiya Vaishnavism outside of India, do you still assert that your books are sufficient for bringing us to the zenith of bhakti? Can your books withstand time? That is, are the purports and language dated? If not now, then in the future? Is emphasis on distributing your books by whatever method outmoded? Isn't ISKCON without emphasis on mass distribution a breath of fresh air for us?
Oh,
Should our senior devotees take the lead in demonstrating lifelong dependence on your books for their spiritual sustenance and delight? Is there a danger that by doing so, they could inhibit their spiritual maturity? Would we gain anything significant and lasting if ISKCON's leaders, in both word and example, rallied to exalt your books as the main basis of our cultural unity?
To hear this, thank you, Balaram, I get it. Why you feel that way. It's absolutely, this Sahajiya tendency, everyone, is all pervasive in that group. And people support it. This person is recognized as some kind of avatar guru. And he is a complete fraud by his words, not by our words. If you hear this philosophically, it is absolutely poison. And I can say this, these people should be avoided by all of us. Avoided. We shouldn't lament that we can't be with them. We should rejoice that we're with all of us and that we've come to this understanding. Before, I just wanted to ask Yaśodā first, Balaram, could you make a comment for our audience this evening on this sort of startling reading?
I think the comment has been best exemplify my comments by what Balaram Prabhu did. He blocked his ears because it is extremely offensive and against the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. Anybody who has respect for and has faith in Srila Prabhupada, allegiance to Srila Prabhupada, cannot speak like that. This is called serious deviation from Prabhupada's teachings. And this is pervasive throughout the society, throughout that society. You know, it's very important to understand the Krishna consciousness movement will go on. It has been predicted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it will go on. But people who are offenders, deviants, Sahajiyas, critics, dreamers, they will fall off, get cut off from the mercy of pure devotee, especially those who criticize Srila Prabhupada. That is, and especially those who criticize Prabhupada and try to impede the pure preaching of his mission. It's offensive to criticize Prabhupada, and it's also offensive to impede or minimize or trying to block those devotees who are trying to move forward the mission of Srila Prabhupada in his pure original teachings. Now, this is a very important point, because this point now, what is happening, a lot of people in ISKCON are upset that we are preaching that Srila Prabhupada is present in his books, is present in his teaching, that Prabhupada is present in his picture, that Prabhupada is present in his murti. They're upset because it goes to the root of the atheistic mentality, which was personified in San Diego, California, during the so-called Ritvik debate in January of 1990, where one GBC from Philadelphia said, well, why don't you send Prabhupada a letter and tell us what he replies? This is typical of the atheistic, nonsensical attitude of many of these leaders. And we do not accept this. We will never accept this. We'll preach against it and expose it in detail.
Yeah.
Balaram Prabhu, you have a comment.
Just one, before we move to it, I wanted to make a comment here just so everybody's aware. And again, I don't want everyone to think that we're trying to fault find anyone. These are facts that come out week after week in regards to our discussions with each other of what is practically happening in the society. And I'm not going to mention, it was a devotee spoke to me. And as you know, Shivaram Swami, he was a member of the Montreal Temple when I was vice president of Balaram back in 73. So this was some time ago. This is a while back. And so, you know, in a sense, I was like a Vartma Pradarshika introducer to Krishna consciousness for him. I was the Sankirtan leader at the time and, you know, like that, the Brahmachari leader. And he was studying engineering at McGill University, and then he decided to give that up. And he joined the temple and took up Krishna consciousness rather seriously. And then he's developed a career in the society. And this Prabhu was out on Sankirtan with him and the top book distributor in England. And this Prabhu, he was standing there beside him in the group. It wasn't like a third party, I heard a rumor. He was right there with him. And he called the book distributor over and he said, "Stop distributing Prabhupada's books, and I want you to distribute my books on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan." So this type of behavior is, this Sahajiyism that we're dealing with is all pervasive, everyone. It's not just this person, that person. There are thousands of examples of this madness that's going on. And we have to expect that people are going to retaliate against us. Just know that. There's a lot of people that are blaspheming members of our organization because they're reacting to what we're doing. And this you have to expect in this debate that we're having with the people of not only the ISKCON world, of the whole world. Balaram Prabhu, please.
Yes, this person that we read out that vial from previously, it's not just a recent thing. I mean, he was one of the notorious New Brindavan 8 who involved in, we won't go into the criminal activities there. Friar Tuck, we used to call him, used to wear his robes, Friar Tuck, all of them. Well, after all that, he's, when you said, is he in Australia or New Zealand? Well, he's the current GBC, the co-GBC of Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Indonesia. He's a representative of the so-called governing body commission, the Greedy Boys Club, whatever you want to call it. So just a few years ago, just for example, and this should be known, there was in Adelaide, one of the capital cities in Australia, there was a young girl in the temple, and she'd been molested by, I think it was the son or the vice president of the temple over there. So it was brought up, and it was brought up to this person that we're referring to, who made this offering, vile offering to Prabhupada. And he said, "Oh, tell the girl to just say it was consensual and everything will go away." This is a recorded statement that this person made. This is from the GBC of Australia. Just tell the girl to say it was consensual and everything will go away. So this is what we're dealing with in a so-called spiritual organization. I can't say any more, but I would suggest we do not want to hear any more of these offerings in this way. We can refer to it maybe, but to hear that is just
it's quite unfortunate. In all fairness to the group, and the reason we're somehow or other it's got on this topic of authenticity because of the moon landing discussion and people refuting it. That's the connection here. I think it's important for us as a group, and that at least we're aware of the issues, and then really not to focus on it as an issue of what our campaign is, which is to present Prabhupada as the pure devotee, as him present in his Vani incarnation, to take shelter of him through his instructions to us, and strengthen our own personal spiritual lives. Because, you know, all of us have difficulties or have had difficulties in the past, but we're moving together as a group. And I've sent the rules of conduct for us that we'll be posting next week on our classes, so people are aware what is expected of them, that if they're going to participate in the classes, they should be following certain standards that we're recommending that they practice. And in this way, we develop a strong group of people of quality, not just quantity. We're looking, if we have 1,000 solid devotees following the rules of conduct for the Prabhupada Disciples Association, there will be great strength with our group, very great strength. It's not about a large number of followers, it's quality followers that we want to associate with, that all have the same understanding of this philosophy. And we're joined together like an army. Like an army. This is not a joke. We're not playing around here at all. All of you know that. We're committed to this because we see there's a real need for this truth to be spoken, despite all the criticism, all the difficulty that we're going to endure because of it. Vinkat Prabhu, could you comment, please?
Yes, I was talking to a devotee, and he made a very nice point that about the books.
Yeah.
Even some Prabhupada Nuga groups, what they say is that it's okay to read from the changed books because, it's 99% Prabhupada, 1% changed. So still the potency is there. Well, first of all, I don't know how they came up with this number 99% and 1%, because, as we know, the changes are very extensive. And second of all, the nice point which this devotee made was that I think at one time Srila Prabhupada gave an example of a power generating station, and how everything has to be according to everything has to be the exact according to regulation for the electricity to flow. Like when you plug in, an appliance into the socket in your house, if something is off in the whole system, that circuit coming from the power generating station to your appliance, if something is not according to regulation, the electricity will not flow, right? So, and compare that to like a battery, even if it's, it's 100% capacity, then the battery drains, let's say it's 99%, still it's usable. So the nice point that this devotee made was that this transmission of transcendental knowledge, Divyam Jnanam, is more like the power generating station, where everything has to be exactly how the previous Acharya has, the current Acharya has, set it up for that transcendental knowledge to flow. And it's not like a battery where you can remove some and it's still 99% or 90% and still you'll get some power. No, it's more like the power generating station. So that's why it's so important to keep the original books exactly how it was, like including the format, the font, everything, words, of course. That goes without saying, but even everything else, it should just be exactly how Srila Prabhupada wanted, because on many occasions he expressed, anger if we even change the cover of something, like why are you changing the cover? Why are you changing? What is this change disease, like that? So I thought that was a nice point that this devotee made.
Okay, I've got an announcement for us that to support what you're saying, Vinkat, one of our members here from the Hamilton Ashram has currently completed the scanning of all the original books from Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Caitanya Charitamrita, plus all of the small books, etc. He's been working on this for 2 years. He's collected all the books. And I just talked to him today. He showed me the beautiful cover of the old Sri Ishopanishad, Raja Vidya, all these other old books. And like you said, Venkat, everything identical to these original books. No change in the type font, no change in the pictures, no change in the editing. Completely intact original books. And our group is going to be licensed to be able to print and distribute these books globally, just so you know. So we're moving forward, all things being equal, that Krishna will make this arrangement, Venkat, for you and all the devotees. So then we're not here. All of our new people, they'll be able to take up this distribution of the law books of mankind that were delivered to us from Srila Prabhupada, and which we are definitely trying to reestablish, despite all the difficulty that has happened since his departure. Venkat, could you read a couple of these comments? There was some comments here from Rathayatra, just the last couple, and one other Prabhu there I found was Peter, Dr. Peter. I thought that was a really interesting comment as well. Could you read those out for our group? We'll keep moving ahead a little bit for a little longer, if I hope everyone's enjoying the discussion. Go ahead, Venkat.
Okay. Ratyatra Prabhu says, Srila Prabhupada living Vani is available now and in the future, whereas these false Hare Krishna gurus will die off and be forgotten once they leave their old deformed bodies. Yes.
Whoa. Thank you, Bhakti Peter. Very profound understanding. Go ahead,
Then
Venkat Prabhu, please.
Bhakta Peter Prabhu says, Prabhupada's original Gita does not exist in Hindi. So basically all the books distributed in India are the changed ones. Interesting.
Yeah, I think we're finding that, like in Russia, we have no idea who is translating the books and what their motive is. So it's becoming very dilute globally. Turkey, as I was told there, that's on our group, and it's absolutely pathetic what's gone down between the original books and then the translated versions with people that have no idea what the philosophy is. It's absolutely a complete heresy that's going on. There's no one diligent in protecting the distribution of this information from Srila Prabhupada to the conditioned souls. What's the comment from Rathayatra there? Please, Venkat.
The media programming the world now that USA NASA is going back to the moon, recently selecting 4 astronauts to keep the lie going. Same as ISKCON, constantly programming the blind to accept false gurus.
Yaśodā, could you comment on that?
Well, it's another environmental recycling program. When Prabhupada told Bhaktivinod Swami and myself in 1971 in Calcutta that they cannot go there, Prabhupada's first argument is, if they went there, why did they come back? Why don't you stay there? Then he went on to say, according to the Vedas, the moon is a luminous planet, translucent. Why did they bring back some dead rocks? According to the Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, you cannot go there. You have to have a suitable body. He quoted from the Brahma Samhita. So in other words, there are so many reasons why they do this. Basically, it's a cheating proposition. There have been so many. While we were discussing this, I sent several emails to some member of this group, certain videos, certain links, and one email had many Prabhupada statements about the moon issue. One thing that Prabhupada did say in 1971 is that if they have gone anywhere, they went to Rahu. According to the Vedas, Rahu is a planet that goes between the sun and the moon and the earth. Prabhupada said that's where they may have gone. But he did not accept their proposition that you can go there by mechanical means.
Yes.
One announcement I'd like to make before I forget. According to the Madhva calendar, today in California is the birthday of Hanuman, and tomorrow in India is called Hanuman Jayanti, which is the birthday of Hanuman. So all the Ram Bhaktas all over India will be celebrating tomorrow. And the 6th, according to the Mayapur calendar, is Shyamananda Prabhu's appearance day. And we have Vamsivadana Thakur's appearance day, appearance of Radhakund, Balaram Rasa Yatra, where Lord Balaram danced with the gopis in Vrindavan. So it's a very auspicious, special day. I don't want to forget anyone. Andabaya Mataji, did you have your hand up earlier? Did you want to make a comment or give your bhashya or purport?
Yeah,
it's all approved.
Yeah, it's all approved. No,
Okay.
I wanted your opinion on something. As you mentioned, tomorrow is a very auspicious day. It's Gorpranim and all of these auspicious things. What do you suggest that how do we spend our day tomorrow?
Same as usual, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deity Tulsi, affiliated with devotees. Rath Yatra, if you look on the screen, Rath Yatra has already started. He's got a big picture of Jagannath, a picture of Prabhupada. He's got all kinds of beautiful pictures, some altar over there. I don't know if he's hearing us, but it's very beautiful. And Balaram Prabhu has got that beautiful picture of Prabhupada looking in the sky. Very sweet. It is
Balaram,
definitely,
yeah.
I mean, reading from the Bhagavatam about Lord Balaram's activities, that Krishna book, would be a very special, auspicious event. I sent an email today, again, as I said, about the life of Shyamananda, the life of Vamsivadana Thakur, and I forwarded on WhatsApp a message I got from Balaram Prabhu about Shyamananda. So if anybody did not receive it, if you send me an email, I will forward it to you. But very auspicious day tomorrow. Yes,
Excellent.
Balaram Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yep. Balaram.
I just wanted to be in the meetings, text
Yes.
number 28. Maybe if I'll just read that. Narayan and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. So this morning when I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam study, just coming through the 10th canto at the moment. So Venkat Prabhu, could you bring up 10th canto, 3rd chapter, text number 44, if possible? I'd like to read Srila Prabhupada's purport there. Beautiful purport.
Could you repeat that, please? Just repeat it, what you wanted. There we go.
No, it's here. He's very quick on the draw, Venkat. He's fabulous. So I'll just read, I won't read just the translation and purport. So translation, this is the Lord talking to Devahuti. I have shown you this form of Vishnu just to remind you of my previous births. Otherwise, if I appeared like an ordinary human child, you would not believe that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu has indeed appeared. Bhaktivedanta purport. Devaki did not need to be reminded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, had appeared as her son. She already accepted this. Nonetheless, she was anxious, thinking that if her neighbors heard that Vishnu had appeared as her son, none of them would believe it. Therefore, she wanted Lord Vishnu to transform himself into a human child. On the other hand, the Supreme Lord was also anxious, thinking that if he appeared as an ordinary child, she would not believe that Lord Vishnu had appeared. Such are the dealings between devotees and the Lord. The Lord deals with his devotees exactly like a human being, but this does not mean that the Lord is one of the human beings, for this is the conclusion of non-devotees. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanam ashritam. Devotees know the Supreme Personality of Godhead under any circumstances. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. The Lord says, Man mana bhavamad bhakto madjadi man namaskuru. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances and worship me. A non-devotee cannot believe that simply by thinking of one person one can achieve liberation from this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. But this is a fact. The Lord comes as a human being, and if one becomes attached to the Lord on the platform of loving service, one's promotion to the transcendental world is assured. That was my morning Srimad Bhagavatam reading.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to move to the end of the discussion this morning or this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. And I want to thank everybody for participating once again in our weekly class marathon. It's a marathon that's going to go on week after week, month after month, year after year, as we continue our campaign to solidify Prabhupada as the Vani incarnation present in our lives. This organization of people or association is more the temple of the mind. We're more interested in the spiritual well-being of each of our members, and we're more interested in the promotion of the absolute truth according to the unadulterated teachings of our beloved spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So thank you again. Vinkat, we want you to bring up our kirtan that we enjoy so much. We're going to be changing the introductions and closing soon, enhancing them and bringing everyone more inspiration to carry on with the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Prabhus, let us offer our humble obeisances to each other. And I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday and Sunday for the Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam classes. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.